Welcome, guys. Good to see you. Welcome to the folks out here listening. Great to have y'all with us for the podcast today. Good to see y'all.
Thanks for jumping in there with us this week.
I'm talking to two guys who were not here this weekend.
Yeah, that's true. But
So
I did go back
I'll
and
do all the talking, won't I?
you can. Yeah, that'd be great.
every
Matter
bit.
of fact, that'd be fantastic.
We'll just stay silent.
Michael and Greg were at our Accelerant Youth Gathering this week, and they had a really good time out there, I understand. Good time with a bunch of kids.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
I think we had total out there was about 3,400 kids out there in
Yeah.
Gatlinburg.
Yeah, for the
and
event,
Had a really good weekend. Thankful for our crew that went. Pastor John went, Greg went, Michael went, several other people went from Upward, and a bunch of kids out there, and they had a great time. So that's where they were this weekend.
I'm falling asleep in the middle of this. You know why?
Don't drop your mic.
It was drop the mic moment.
Drop mic moment when he falls to sleep.
Yeah.
But we had a good week. We started a new series called Keep the Change, and we're talking about living in our personal lives a life of radical generosity. It's been a cultural value here at Upward for several years now, and it's also becoming a cultural value of people individually. We want that value not just to be us as a body, but we want it to drift down into our lives as individuals, and that's what this series is about.
You had made the statement in the because I did go back and listen to the message, by the way. So
Thank you.
I didn't want to be up here with nothing going on. But you had said you had made the statement that this is not trying to guilt you into anything like that, but it's like I want to invite you to the party because living this lifestyle of radical generosity is exciting, and I'm inviting people to be a part of the party, and that's really what this is. It's inviting people into this next step of your life where you get to live a radically generous life, and what that means for others and what that means for you as well.
And living the radically generous life too, which you talked about a bunch this week, is when you want to live radically generous, you have to get your other stuff in order, basically.
Really do.
So not only is it a benefit because you get to join the giving party of like all the blessing that comes with that, and that's not why you give, but all the blessing and the lifestyle changes that comes with that, you also get the benefit of installing a little bit more discipline in your financial life, which is
for real.
Long term is going to help you out a ton.
A couple things that I've heard giving messages preached. Pastors tend to be a little fearful about the giving message because, we get accused, or church in general gets accused a lot of just being all about the money, and just preaching this to bring in money and everything, and I've heard it preached kind of in a way of shame or condemnation, or if you don't do this, or you're going to be cursed if you don't give to the church and all this kind of stuff. I just really wanted to invite people to something that I've found to be so incredibly adventurous and wonderful and miraculous, that when you put God first in your finances, He blesses those so that you can turn around and bless others, And I said it in some of the services, I guess. I'm not a prosperity gospel guy who wants you to claim 3 Rolls Royces in your garage and wearing thousands of dollars of clothes all the time and jewelry and rings. I don't think Jesus died to make us rich in that term. In fact, a lot of the Bible's saying how money is passing and temporary and how it will let you down eventually, and our hope is to be in Jesus. But I'm not poverty gospel either that preaches there is a big blessing and a greater witness through being poor. I believe that God wants to provide for His people and do that in such a way that they can be a blessing to others. There is, and this is not, people say, well, and I've learned this, if this message won't work in a third world country, it shouldn't be here. And I've heard people that preach about Rolls and Cadillacs and all this stuff. You go over to a third world country and try to preach that, that's difficult because only the top 1%, some of them have anything approaching that. But there is a thing called, I should have thought about this before I went into it, and we studied this for years, is in a country, any country, but you especially see it in a foreign country where things are really poor. When a community begins to come to Christ, there is a social lift upward in that community. You will begin to see God blessing them, working through them. It's not just one family all off in a corner alone, but you have a church family who steps in and tries to help each other and bless each other. And that's tremendous. There's a lift to that. So I think this works anywhere in the world, that we're not in a prosperity gospel. We're not in a poverty gospel. the gospel simply this, that God saves us, obviously, and frees us from sin and all that. But in addition to that, he takes care of our needs according to his riches and glory, and he gives us more than enough so that we can bless other people. And I truly believe God wants that for our church family, to not struggle, to have more than enough so you can be a blessing to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like money is like any other resource, it's like sometimes as essential as the other big resources we talk about, but that's the idea, is that you can get more so that you can give more. And that's not to say a lot of people stop and say, if I had more, I would give more, which I don't think is the right mindset. But when it's just viewed as any other resource, it kind of simplifies it. It's like God wants me to get some more of this, not so that I can buy a bunch more stuff, but so that I have the freedom to bless people in even bigger ways.
Yeah,
you just reach a point in life when you've got enough stuff.
Yeah.
You've got enough stuff. You've got a comfortable place to live. You got a car or two to get you to work and back. They're not an idol. They're not a status symbol. It's a functional car to get you to work and back and to get you to visit family and whatever you need to do. You've got some transportation, and you've got enough food on the table and you can cover your bills. God wants us all to be at that place, and it takes hard work to do that in our day. It takes hard work and good planning. But what Michael just said was a key part of this message, is that it's hard to be generous when you're not intentional with your finances. I told the story, I'll tell it again, of the first time that God spoke with Alexa and I to up our giving percentage beyond the tithe, which is by definition 10%. God spoke to us both individually, and we came together, and it was bumped this percentage up higher. And I remember the first month we did that, I was thinking, God's going to bless this. God's going to bless it. And just like a month later, I had this big tax bill due.
Right.
I owed a couple $1,000s to the government. And when I got that news, I called Alexa, and she's like, we both were like, oh, God, we just gave, and we were expecting a blessing. Instead, we got a bill. And I remember the Lord dealt with us both, and just dealt with us that that was our planning. That was the fact that we had not engaged actually what we were paying in, and we weren't paying in enough that year and had not actually planned that. And that's what led to that bill. It's like God said, hey, that's not my fault. Don't blame me for your poor planning. I'm still going to bless you, but don't hold that against me. So if we're going to be generous, we need to be very intentional with our finances. We really do. And that means give to God first, and manage the rest intentionally, engage it. And so many people run away from talking about money with their spouse because it just turns into a fight.
Yeah, sure. I think you even made the comment that, the financial conversations and the stress of money in a marriage are one of the leading causes for divorce to take place.
Yeah, it really is. It's right up there. There's some big things. I've always heard that religion would split people up really fast, and how they manage children. Parenting styles will split people up. In-laws and family will split people up, and money will split people up. Financial tensions, and you cannot deal with the issue in your marriage, and I know single people deal with this as well, but it takes on a new level when you try to do life with another person.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can try to have a budget meeting, and it doesn't work, which it never does the first month for anybody. Nobody that hasn't done it before is going to make it work in 1 month, because when you put those budget categories in, you're kind of just taking a stab in the dark because you've never really tracked anything.
Yeah.
So you don't know, first of all, how much you're actually making, and then you don't know how much you're actually spending. So you sit down and you try to have this conversation, and you kind of battle it out just to get your first budget done, and you battle through some disagreements. And then you go through all this fight, and then it doesn't work the first month. And then it's like, what's the point in this? What I tried to bring across all weekend was that when you deal with a budget, the first month never is going to work. The second month will start to get a little better. The third month, you'll start to gain some traction and think, okay, I know. Once you go through a year, you've seen and tracked all the high power bills.
Right.
You've seen what winter looks like to your gas or your electricity. You've tracked the whole year. You know when people's birthdays is coming up. You know when Christmas is coming. Once you've been through it a whole year, you really can get good at it.
Yeah.
And Alexa and I have been doing that through the Every Dollar app for several years now, and we we don't talk much about finances anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't. We don't really have much of a budget meeting unless it's big things. You know, we're trying to save for a couple things, and a couple things we want to pay cash for rather than borrow it, which that's something we've determined we're going to live that way. But we'll talk about big picture, but month to month, it kind of is what it is.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And that $every dollar app that you mentioned, everybody watching can have access to.
Absolutely.
If you go to our website,
Mm-hmm.
ucf.cc, is it /resources?
/finance.
Yeah. You can download, there's a code right there for you to be able to download.
Yeah.
And you got not just access to the $every dollar app, but you got access to all of Dave Ramsey's resources there that you can talk to.
Tell them that yesterday, really, but I was telling some people out in the lobby, they said, thanks for the app. I said, something I didn't even tell you. When you do that, when you log in with that code, you've got free for a year all their resources.
Yeah.
Lessons, books, classes. I mean, there's all kind of things we do.
We use the same thing. I mean, we use the $every dollar app,
too.
And that's been a game changer for us.
Definitely. It takes a lot of the tough stuff out of tracking it, because how it works is like you can link all of your cards up to it. And this is a good thing to talk about, I guess, because they can get access to this. But you link all your cards up to it, and then it can track all your charges. So all you have to do in the app is go in and like basically put a label on each charge and say, this was food, this was going out to eat, this was something for the kids. Like in that way, even just visually seeing what you spend like that helps a lot, because you can see like, man, we're spending a lot here but not that much here, and it can really help you determine like what needs to get cut, what needs to grow. So it's a great resource, and I think normally you'd have to pay, what is it, $5 a month, or
it's 10 a month?
10 a month. Yeah. 10 a month.
So it's like $120 for the year.
$120 for a year that we're giving away for free. So that's a big benefit, I think.
Thing that helped us too. We've got all our income going into one account, so we can just track it together. I said this in all the services, all 4 this weekend, and I usually get a little pushback, but I kind of made fun of it into it, so nobody said anything to me. But people tell me, we've been married a long time, and I have my money and she has her money. And I still believe in that one flesh, one budget. I really do. I may have started some arguments or hopefully some good discussions among married couples. But when you're budgeting, it's important to point all the income to one place so you know what you actually have, and then track everything that goes out, and none of it be hidden to each other. You shouldn't have to go sneak around on your spouse to buy something. It's all there. Now, I'll typically, a lot of times I'm the one that goes through the $every dollar app, and what happens is you'll get all your numbers plugged in and everything's there, and then 4 or 5 days a week, transactions will download. They don't download too good on like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That, I found like Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, no stuff's coming down. It takes a day or two for them to come
those
through.
Pending charges have to go through.
Pending charges have to go through, and like especially Sunday, Monday, and by Tuesday they'll start hitting again. So there's a little gap there. But like Tuesday through Saturday, just about every morning, I'll open it up and I'll see what our transactions were. And 95% of those are on a debit card. We've got a credit card that we use specifically for a couple of things. It gives us a couple of advantages, and I don't recommend that for people who aren't disciplined. I recommend getting on a debit if they're not disciplined. I really do. We're pretty disciplined with that. But then you'll see the transaction come in, and you'll give it a name in your budget. You'll just have to categorize it. And the app's gotten so good that it now is predictive. It will let you click one button. It kind of knows.
It can label some stuff for you.
It can label it for you. And you just one click.
It kind of has,
like
it's kind of smart about that.
And stuff like that. Kind of automatically.
It knows when I go to Sam's Club, it's my gas. It's my gas one.
Yes. Now, if you go to Sam's for gas and food.
Oh, man, it throws it way off.
It throws it off a little bit. But all you have to do is just manually go in.
It's easy.
You put it in.
I mean,
But what will happen is, and Amazon's a challenge too on that. Because if you buy stuff through Amazon, it just says Amazon.
Right.
So the one little irritating tick about it that I don't like is I have to go back to my Amazon account and remember what is that for.
Right.
And I'll go back to my orders. And
if that's the only thing.
Sounds like you got a lot of things coming from Amazon is what it sounds like.
Oh, yeah. I got that too.
Many
talked
of
about
us
that
do.
this morning.
I know, Michael, you do. I see Amazon at your house almost
There's
daily.
several things. There's several things.
You would.
We've got some subscriptions with that now that it just comes to the house, which is really cool. But and a lot of people don't like Amazon. That's fine. But what'll happen though is we'll get a charge, and typically I'm laying in bed when I do it. I'll do it early in the morning or before I go to sleep, and I'll just check it. It's better in the morning, but I'll see something and I'll ask her, Alexa next to me, I'll say, what was this? And she'll say, well, it was this. And she might do the same thing to me. Just we're asking each other, did you spend that? Did I? And not in an accusatory way, but we know it's in the
where does it need to go? Where does just trying to figure out which
category?
categories it need to go into.
The other thing, too, is we have, and I mentioned it yesterday, allowance for each other. Alexa and I have a set amount that we can spend each month without talking to each other.
Yeah.
And if I see something pop up, I'm like, is that your allowance or not? And that can get some, you could argue over that.
Right.
It's like, that doesn't need to go in my allowance. That's for the house, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just,
Does that fit into the housing item?
Exactly. That's the conversations you have. But I can tell you, we really struggle with finances as a young married couple because I did the books.
Right.
And I would just kind of come down from the mountain and tell her what money we had left.
Yep.
And there were months when, let's say, we had a huge heating bill, like right now for everybody.
Yeah.
And that would take a chunk out of our budget. So she would say, can we buy this? And I'd be like, we don't have enough money for that. Well, why not? You just got paid. I'm like, yeah, but as I work the budget, this bill, every dollar eliminates that one person doing it off in a room alone.
Right.
And both of you have access to it on your phone.
Yep.
So it's so good. So you just got to be intentional. And we've seen that as we budget, we're able to give more.
Yeah.
We're able to give much more than we ever dreamed we would be able to give.
And that's part of it too. I mean, having access to the Every Dollar app and being able to use it, gives you the ability to kind of be able to tell your money where it's going. I think that's something that Dave Ramsey says a lot is, make sure you're telling your money where it's going rather than your money telling you where it's going.
Yep.
But it frees you up to see, man, I do have access to finances here that I can be generous with.
Yeah.
Finance can be such a stretch because for me, if I don't feel like I'm handling well, I've just got this vague sense of discontent. And then when your spouse is not in agreement with you, you let this bitterness develop between you. Like, why do you have to spend this at the grocery store every week? Why can't you buy Great Value or Laura Lynn instead of the top brand? You get in all that kind of conversation. There's great peace in knowing that you've already budgeted for the month and it's there.
Yep.
Now, some people asked me yesterday, how do you handle kind of unpredictable income? Let's say you're living on commissions and your income is up 1 month and down.
Yeah.
I think still having a plan, you may not be able to hit the budget perfectly every month.
Right.
But having a plan will get you somewhere.
Sure.
For
start somewhere.
Yeah. Like Becca's job does that. And it's going to do that even more now. But it's like even before, it's her pay was different every month. It could be drastically different. Some weeks, if there were more weeks in a month, she'd get a lot more.
Yep.
But it's all like, you have it. The way we do it is like it's a percentage per category that we've set. So when our income changes, you just got to do the math on the percentage. 15% this month is, or like 10% on this month is personal purchases. Like, whatever you personally, and whether the income goes up or down, it's 10%. So that's an easy way to get around that. And I think the app may do that for you, but
it will help.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the materials will give you, I know, some recommended percentages for those areas because some people need to know. But I did tell someone talking to me yesterday about this very issue of how it comes and goes. You've got fixed expenses that just are what they are.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do to change that.
Yep.
If you've got a electric bill or a natural gas bill, I mean, you can turn the lights off, but there's only a certain extent you can control that.
Yeah.
And food just kind of costs what it does.
Yeah.
You don't have to. I mean,
pretty much
the way you can blow your budget wide open is just going out to eat all the time.
Yeah.
You can save so much by cooking at home, and we've been guilty of that before.
Oh,
Our
absolutely.
lifestyle's busy, and going out to eat a lot. You can cook at home a lot cheaper.
I just tell you, with a guy with young kids at home and they're involved in activities, man, it is. And we're going from place to place right now in our lives. Eating out is the convenient option.
Yeah.
But man, is it the expensive option as well? I mean, because there are several nights a week that we're choosing to eat out just because of the timing of it.
Yeah.
And that eating out budget item gets blown up at this point in time.
People also blow a lot of money on cars. They really do.
Most Americans are car broke.
Really,
if you look at the numbers,
Car broke. I do like that.
If you look at
phrase.
the numbers, most Americans are paying way more on car payments than they can afford.
And the thing is, a car is a depreciating asset. You're investing a huge chunk of your income and life in something that's losing value every single day.
Right.
My advice to young marrieds and just people who ask me, and I try not to give unsolicited advice, but I say, get you a car that gets you to work and back. Get you the car that you need that's inexpensive to own. That's the other thing. You can buy a car. You got to look at the cost of ownership.
Yep.
You can buy a nice, snazzy car that you can't find anybody to work on.
Right.
That's thousands of dollars every time you turn around.
You want me to list you some brands?
No, I'm not doing that. But you can do that.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, just get a car that gets you to work and back, and invest your money in your home and your house, because those go up. Invest your money, somewhere else. But once you start to get a handle on a budget, there's tremendous peace in your life that I'm working on this.
Yep.
I've heard this said many times, and it was true for us. When we first did a budget, we felt like we got a raise.
Yeah.
Because there was money there that we didn't think we had. Yeah. And there was money we were spending that we didn't realize we were spending. Yeah.
I'd take a lot of that back to the invention of the debit card, too, is that it became so easy to swipe a card and to assume that I had this amount of money in my bank account, and you didn't know it, man. When we moved away from being able to pay for cash, use cash to pay for everything, and moved to be able to swipe that card, it was a game changer and not really helping us to keep track of what was actually in that account.
Something that helped us for years as well, really old-fashioned. But we did this for a long time until we got in the rhythm of being able to be disciplined, is we would, when we got paid, we would take out the grocery money, put it in an envelope, and we would go to the grocery store and pay cash. And that is the most concrete way to control your budget on expenses like that I know of.
We did the same thing.
The envelope.
Yep.
And you see when it's low, and you're like, we got to slow down.
Yep. Yeah, we did the same thing there. I mean, there was a time period there, man, where we were drowning, is what it felt like in debt, man. We had made some poor choices that I go back to your statement. It was a lot easier to blame God for it than to take responsibility for, which is a whole different message. It's a whole different sermon, right? But it was poor planning on our part, and we had gotten ourselves into a hole. And in order to help us dig out, man, we did the same thing, put the cash in the envelope, and when it was gone, that was it. We had nothing left for that month.
Yeah. I can promise everybody listening today, you guys and everybody listening, I've done this. I've been in ministry now 31 years now in September, and we started with very little. A great church that loved us. They just weren't able to pay us very much, so we were just barely getting by. And we've come to today to where we are comfortable. Yeah. And the church is good to all of us. It takes really good care of all of us. We're not stacking up money somewhere and driving Rolls Royces everywhere. Not that there's anything wrong with a Rolls Royce if you have one. But
we'd love for you to come here and
hey, I would just like to drive.
Be
it.
very generous.
Could I do a test drive? I would just like to drive it one time. That's all.
But I can tell you guys and the listeners that I've seen this. If you put God first and you're intentional with your finances, God will take care of you.
Yes, sir.
And He will bless you in all kinds of ways.
Totally.
Well, it's been fun, y'all. Yeah. Thanks for being together today.
Hey, I'll put the link to the Dave Ramsey stuff in this video. So just if you're watching on social media, if you're watching on Facebook, just look in the caption. Same with YouTube. If you're audio, just look in the show notes. I'll put that in there. But it's ucf.cc/finance. Please use that.
Absolutely.
You can use that app.
I promise you it'll be game changing.
All three of us do, and you can have it for free and use exactly what we do to make this thing work.
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all. We'll see y'all next week.